Dear learners, welcome back to my channel Let's Learn Together, and I'm here first of all to welcome all the class 11 students who are going to be my new viewers, I hope. And this is the first ever video that I'm doing for them, and the content of the video is going to be the discussion on the first chapter of Hornbill, The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. But before we actually begin with the content of the video, I would like to first of all welcome once again all the viewers, 11th class viewers on my channel, and at the same time would like to wish all of them a very good luck for the coming session. I hope you enjoy your studies. Anyway, so when you begin with this particular chapter, when you read it is mandatory. Let me tell you this, that this is absolutely important for you to read the primary text. There is absolutely no substitution for reading the primary text, and your primary text is the chapter that is given in the NCERT textbook Hornbill. You have to read it. So read it at least twice. Although the chapter is really short as far as the length of the chapter is concerned, and of course the language and the concerns of the chapter is very familiar. Therefore, there should not be, I feel, any difficulty as far as the comprehension of the chapter is concerned. So I'm going to deal with, you know, with the, not of course with the storyline, because that is quite easy, but I'll try to begin with the issues and important themes and important characters in the plot. So let us very quickly begin. I hope you have your textbooks with you so that you can, just follow along as I'm talking to you. So I'm beginning with the first page of the chapter, and in the first paragraph itself, you see that Khushwant Singh describes physically his grandfather and his grandmother, and he very vividly describes them by saying that they were in such advanced stage of life. They were so old that one could actually never imagine them being young, and it was as if they were old forever and they would only have lots and lots of grandchildren. Okay, and this is of course the case with most of us, because we have always seen our grandparents as old. We have never seen them young, unlike our parents who were like young in the early part of our life and then they grew old with the passage of time. We have always seen our grandparents as old. Okay, so of course it is, he's talking to us with the point of view of a child who looks at the grandfather or grandmother with being old, and it is difficult for his mind or her mind to imagine them as young people. So then it talks about the physical appearance of the grandmother, and this is absolutely the central character of this chapter. So Khushwant Singh is portraying, he's giving you a character sketch, or you can say that he's actually introducing us to this one special member of his life, one special person of this life, who is his grandmother, and he's giving a portrait of this lady, right? So the lady in question is Khushwant Singh's, or author's, grandmother. So now he talks about the physical appearance of the grandmother, where he describes him as, and I'm quoting from the text, being short and fat and slightly bent. So of course there were lots and lots of wrinkles on her face, on her skin, because she's old. But I would like you to pay attention towards the last line of the second paragraph, which was like, and I'm quoting from the text again, she was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of white, pure serenity, breathing peace and contentment. Now, this particular comparison of a grandmother with the beauty that you actually see, on winters over the mountains when the snow is over there and gets accumulated there, and then it takes the form of the ice. So that whiteness on the mountain is, it's very calming, it's very peaceful, and at the same time it looks extremely beautiful. So now he is actually comparing the beauty of a grandmother with that of the natural beauty of the ice being accumulated over the mountains in the winters. Now you can imagine the kind of comparison he is giving, because there is this pure beauty and innocence and, you know uh, beauty and innocence, which is the reflection of her intrinsic character. But as you read the chapter, you realize that her character was not just about soft, serene beauty. It was also about, strong strength in the character is also there, and which is something remarkable about her character, because you find her a very ordinary character, but at the same time she is somebody who has complete command over her emotions and about her feelings, and how is it that she deals with the changing circumstances around her. So now he directly talks about, about having a relationship with his grandmother, and for the sake of our convenience, we're basically dealing with this, we're dividing this whole chapter or this relationship into three phases. Now you must understand that this kind of division has not been done by Khushwant Singh, but we are doing it so that we have this convenience of learning and also the convenience of answering the questions. So here you find that there are three phases of the relationship, and the first phase is going to be the village phase. I am terming it as a village phase. There is no such term given in the textbook. Please understand this. So in the village phase, Kushwant Singh says, and I'm quoting from the textbook, my grandmother and I were good friends. Now he is considering himself a good friend of his grandmother, which means that they shared lot many things in common with each other. Okay, and then when you read, you find out that how their whole day, for whole of the day, they used to stay together almost, and they spent so much of time with each other that of course it turned their relationship into a very beautiful one. So it's a very pristine, innocent, sweet kind of a relationship between an old lady and the grandson, where both of them share the same space, share the same emotional space also, and share the same feelings, kind of a thing. So he's clearly a child at this time. His parents have left him along with his grandmother in the village, and they have gone in the city to get themselves settled. And meanwhile, back in the village, the grandmother has been taking good care of the child by waking him in the morning and then bathing him and telling him all the prayers, religious prayers, just with the intention that the child would listen to it and he will learn it, although the author as a child was not really interested in it. And then he would clean up his plate, and then she would, sorry, clean up his plate, and then she would carry him to the school. And in the school premises, actually, they would just sit there and learn. And along with the school premises, there were temples, and he would just, the grandmother would just sit over there, and she would keep on reading the religious scriptures while the child would learn to write alphabets, the basic education he would get over there. Now, slowly and steadily, time passed away, and now then becomes the second phase of their relationship. And this particular relationship I am terming as the city phase, because now the parents were comfortably settled in the city. Therefore, they decide to call the grandmother and the child to the city. Alright, now when they shift to the city, there is a redefinition of the relationship that takes place. I wouldn't really say the relationship gets broken apart, no, it doesn't, but it definitely gets redefined with the passage of time, because there are terrible changes that happens over here. The author, as a child, now has started going to an English school where he, of course, receives Western education, as most of the children of this country does do. And when he comes back home, and grandmother asks him about what he has learned in the school, and he talks about arithmetic principle, or about all the scientific terms, or about all the English terms, the grandmother is not able to relate with that, because she is not westernly educated. She might be educated in the Indian Hindu scriptures, but she is not westernly educated. Therefore, she is not able to make a connect with the child, and this, of course, leaves her very disappointed, because she's not able to now play that pivotal role that she used to play in the imparting of the education at the village, right? So of course that is very disappointing for her. But more than this, even more disappointing fact was that the children were being taught music at the school. Now she is of some sort of a traditional mindset, where she find that music is only to be learnt by harlots and by beggars. So, who were harlots? These were those individuals who will dance and sing for professional purposes, and used to, kind of earn money while dancing and singing. So, of course, these were not seen as a very respectable profession, and therefore, music was not associated with the gentry class or with the respected people in the society. Therefore, she again feel very, very disappointed and disconnected with the child. So, although there is this kind of disappointment that has crept into the relationship, but at least there is a relationship, and they stay together, they at least see each other, they talk to each other, until the third phase of the relationship begins, and that I am terming as the university phase. Now this is the phase, as the title itself suggesting you, is that he started going to the university. Now when he started going to the university, then obviously he was given a different room of his own, like you can imagine, because of the probably the lengthy study hours that he has to spend, or there could be different reasons. Now it has been said that, I'm quoting it here from the textbook, that when he started going to university, I was given, and I'm quoting it, I was given a room of my own. The common link of friendship was snapped, unquote. So this was the common link of the friendship. Now, what was that common link of the friendship? That room, which was inhabited by both of them together. So at least, even if they were not able to discuss most of the things in the day, they would at least see each other. Now after having been given a different room, now there is a kind of compartmentalization that has happened in their lives. Now both of them have been put into different compartments. You have to imagine it like this. And yes, their life grew apart. Now both of them were separate individuals. There were hardly any connections. They saw less and less of each other. And she once again had, you know once again, I'm quoting from the textbook, accepted her seclusion with resignation, which means that she now has understood that she really cannot do anything to change the conditions. Therefore she accepts herself, and she accepts the whole condition. She accepts herself, and also she knows that there is no point in trying to impose anything upon the grandchild or upon the family members. Therefore she just resigns from everything else, and then she is cornering herself. She doesn't want to mingle with all the members of the family, right? Let us move further then. After all this, when he completed his university learning, then he wanted to go to abroad for further studies, and he was to be away from the country for 5 years. When he was going, when Kushwant Singh was going abroad to study further, at that time he realized that when the time he's going to come back, he's not going to find the grandmother alive, because she was really old by this time. So uh, they had gone, and the grandmother had came to see him off, and at that time she was just busy with her prayers, and she did not display any emotions at him going away. And he she just kisses him on the forehead, and the author can actually feel that moist touch over his forehead. So most of the time she would spend her times, of course, saying prayers, and then with her spinning wheels, and also with the sparrows. Okay, so she would feed the sparrows, and that was one of the most precious or cherished time period of the whole day. So after 5 years, when he comes back to the India, when he comes back to India or to his own home, he finds the grandmother very much alive, and the grandmother was so happy that she, collects all the women from the neighborhood, and then she starts playing music, and she overexerts so much that she is taken seriously ill. And then after some time, of course, she loses her life. So this was the chapter. As I told you, the plot is very easy. Now what is it that you find, uh, which needs to capture your attention? You need to understand, and now I'm going to come on the important part of the discussion, and that is the thematic aspects of the chapter. When you look at the thematic aspects of the chapter, by listening to so far's discussion, you would know that of course the chapter is about the exploration of human relationships, right? Of course it is about a grandmother and Khushwant Singh personally. But it is not just that. Through this relationship, Khushwant Singh is trying to explore the complexities of human emotions and of human relationships, because human relationships are inevitably based upon uh, complex emotions. So there is, these emotions are not simple, they are not linear, and therefore no relationship can be simple and linear. This is what he's exploring. So with the passage of the time, the way relationship is described, or it gets redefined, is something that which can make one unsure of that relationship. And we almost all the time go through such situations. If you are very close to any person in your life, be it your sibling, your parent, your friend, your relative, anyone, you would also realize these ups and downs in the relationship, right? So he examines that. in this particular chapter. So if you have to write down the theme of the chapter, you will first point out about how author is trying to explore the complexities of the human relationship through showing his relationship with his grandmother. Okay, now when you're going to explain this point, you will try to talk about how during all these three stages, the grandmother and Khushwant Singh, they grew slowly and steadily. They started growing separate from each other. There was this distancing which happened between them, but nevertheless, there was this love which was still there. Right, now this takes me to the second important theme of the chapter, which is of course about to explore the whole emotion of love itself. Okay, so sometimes it depends, of course it is a very personal matter of how you understand love, but there is a way in which love has been described in this chapter, because you see that when generally when we tend to love people, we tend to kind of possess them. There is this sense of possession that appears within a love relationship, be it a relationship of a child and with that of a parents, or between anybody. So there is a sense of possession that happens when two people are in love. But here you find that the love has been represented in a completely different way, because you must understand, and I want you to understand this, that the grandmother understands love and experiences love in altogether a different manner. So she has never imposed her own her own authority over the grandson even for a moment. She knows that her values, her ideas were getting older. She knows that this is a different world. This is not her world of village. She knows it's a different society, and it is a society where the people have different sets of values and different sets of ideas, where her ideas would be termed as old and obsolete. But even then, she never does leaves her own idea. So she has this inclination towards religion, which she never leaves. But at the same time, she is also not accepting the new ideas, probably. But the way she disapproves of this newness in the society is extremely silent, which means that she has complete understanding and realization of the fact that she cannot change everything around her, and she cannot really help but letting her grandson grow according to the needs of the time. So, this is extremely mature on her part. Therefore, she experiences love in a different manner. So now she tells you that you can experience love by staying away from somebody. So, to love somebody, it is not important to live with them. You can be at a certain distance, but even then, the love can be experienced. All right, so this is probably going to be the second theme. Now this actually now gets me to the third theme of the chapter, which I feel is that there is a very subtle level, not very openly and straightforwardly, but at a certain level there is this exploration of the theme of social isolation for the elderly people in society. Okay, which will connect me to the point of generation gap, which is also pointed out not directly, but when you read the chapter you get to know that the differences that were arising between grandmother and the grandson, especially during the second phase when they had moved from the village to the city. It was nothing but a kind of difference in the ideas of two generations altogether. So the grandmother belongs to a certain other generation, the grandson belonged to, so there is a difference of one whole generation in between. And this drift that has been caused between these two generations, that these people, this pushed these two people further apart. Okay, so you must understand that this kind of difference in the ideas also leads to a isolation of the elderlies, because if you have noticed life around you, and if you've been even averagely observant of life around you, I would say that try to notice any elderly person in a home. They are generally seen, and I'm sorry to say this, but they are generally seen and felt as burdensome, because they are literally non-productive for the society, but often demanding as far as their authority is concerned. And this is a sad reality of our society. So the human beings who who grow old and are somehow not compatible with the ideas of the newer generation, often have to face uh, seclusion or kind of isolation, and it's difficult for them to mix up with the people, and they come out as a misfit in the society. So this sort of this positioning of elderlies into the society is really disturbing, which is also indirectly pointed out in the seclusion of the grandmother, who would spend a lot of time in saying prayers with her spinning wheel and with the sparrows. Okay, so there are members in the families, but then she would like to stay alone. And what is the reason, if you think about it? Because she is probably a misfit in the society and in her family, if not in the society, at least in her family. And this is what that pushes her to accept her seclusion. So these were the themes uh, of the chapter. So you have to please talk about, you need to develop your own ideas also about, of course, the exploration of human relationship. You may discuss very particularly the relationship of Kushwant Singh with his grandmother, or you may discuss the human relationships and the complexities in general. Then talk about love, which is the basis of all the relationship. So how is it that love is represented in a very different manner here? It is not a very popular and a conventional representation of love. So the love between a grandmother and a grandson is of different kind altogether, but still it is so deep and intense that grandmother, she just continued to play music for a long period of time in spite of knowing the fact that it will hurt her health severely. Okay, so of course there is this deep love that exists between these two, of which was not expressed properly, and it had been unspoken, it was left unsaid between the two, but still it existed, which means that it needed no words for its expression. And the third point that you must discuss is, of course, as I've just told you, about the positions of elderlies into the society. All right, after having said this, I would very quickly go on to the character sketch of the grandmother, of course, the protagonist of this chapter. Uh, um, this is an important question because, of course, you can expect one question from this area, and if they do not ask you to give a character sketch directly of the grandmother, then they might just put any other question in which you might just have to take some help from the character of the grandmother in order to answer that question. Let us try to understand her, what kind of a person she is. Like all grandmothers, she is old, she is like slightly bent. That tells about her physical deformity. She's religious, like most of the grandmothers. She has a spiritual bent of mind, like again most of the grandmothers. She loved her grandchild very much, like most of the grandmothers. But the difference is the kind of strength that she reflects in her character. Now, that is something which is extremely important, because I feel that she's a very strong lady. She's a strong person because she knows what is it that she can change and what is it that she shouldn't change and cannot change actually. So the complete control over her emotions, and trying to there is this there's this kind of negotiation that keeps on happening between the new ideas and the old ideas in the family. The new ideas represented by Kushwant Singh and other members of his generation, and the old ideas represented uh, by the old lady, by the grandmother. So this negotiation, of course, would have represent or would have created a lot of struggle into her mind. But even then, she does not, just in order to fit in with other people, she does not leave her own ideas, and she does not accept the new ideas also. So she's doing both the things at the same time. She's not leaving her own identity. She firmly believes in her own identity, because she firmly believes that children should be given religious education. Children should not be taught music. It's not the question of about being right or wrong, it is about understanding who you are. So she firmly believes in an idea, she never leaves them off. At the same time, uh, she does not compromise by accepting the new ideas also. So there is this belief in herself and faith in her own ideas, that is something I feel is the most appealing part of her character. So you, when you write to the sketch, when write the sketch of the grandmother, you have to write down about how spiritual she was. Of course, you can talk about how religious she was. You can talk about the interest she used to take in the prayer right from the beginning till the last. Then you can talk about how she would love to have a relationship with other forms of life also, like at the village time she would have a wonderful relationship with the street dogs when she would feed them the stale chapatis. And in the city she again formed a very beautiful relationship with the sparrows because she used to feed them also. So that is also one character of her personality which tells us that she has this, amazing capacity to communicate with other forms of life also, which makes her a very sensitive person. Okay, so she is spiritual, she is religious, she is very loving, she is caring, and she is extremely sensitive towards dogs and sparrows. And at the same time she's very strong also, because she knows what she is and she knows how to retain her identity, even if that means that she needs to seclude herself from everybody else, right? So this is all that I want to say. Of course, this is not all. You can keep on adding your own points, and let me also know about anything that you would like to add to her character. The another important aspect of this particular chapter is the comparison between the three stages of the relationship: the city stage, the village phase, the city stage, and then the university phase. Through this you have to look at the evolution in the relationship that happens, and I would very quickly comment on that also. From the village time, the relationship is in its very innocent uh, stage, where she's like having a very nice time, very innocent time, very sweet time, and then from there it grows into a city phase. Relationship gets little drifting apart. Both these characters are a little drifted apart because of some kind of not getting along with each other's ideas. And then slowly and steadily the relationship evolves for their very they don't get to see each other uh, very often, but even then they love each other, they continue to love each other. So it is a testing time for both of them, which they have passed successfully by continuing to loving each other from the village phase till the university phase and till her death also. So look at how they have evolved as particular individuals during this passage of time, because Kushwant Singh has grown up as an educated and a very alert mind. Similarly, there is an evolution and growth into the character of grandmother, who, after being a very caring grandmother, grows into a very understanding grandmother who knows that it's a different time and she cannot really have her own ideas imposed upon Kushwant Singh, author, her grandson, or on any other members of the family. So look at the evolution that happens in both the characters through these three phases, right? So this is all that I have to say about this particular chapter. However, this is not the end. If you have any difficulties that you want to share, you can leave your questions in the comment sections below. And at the same time, if you have any suggestions for me to improve the content of the video, you can feel very free to share your positive comments with me. At the same time, if you have any other difficulty, you can contact me at other places also, on WhatsApp or uh, with the phone calls or something. So I hope you have learned something new from this video, and I also hope that this will help you to take you through this particular chapter. I also promise all of you that I'll keep on bringing more videos on your chapters on your syllabus. It's a extremely brilliant syllabus that has been designed by you know NCERT and CBSE, so you should pay utmost attention to it. With that, I wish all of you all the very best for the coming session. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you.